Welcome to A State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today I am delighted to be joined by the one and only Mr. Jim Leishman MBE. Jim, welcome to the show.
Yeah, what a beautiful studio, guys. Well done. Well done to Jim and yourselves. And I've heard so much about it, and it's a pleasure coming along from the other side of the water.
Exactly. I mean, you're from the same neck of woods as myself, Jim. We'll have a wee chat about Fife, about Dunfermline. Yeah. And growing up as a Celtic fan in Fife as well, I was well aware of your impact at Dunfermline. You know, this incredible turnaround of a club, you know, you breathed new life into it. So it's going to be great to speak about that. But let's go back a wee bit further. Jim, the player, 7 years at Dunfermline. As you say, when you went up to sign, the memories are still fresh in your memory. In 68, was it?
1968. I had loads. I was a schoolboy international, I was getting into the international scene, youth levels, and there was quite a few teams wanted to sign me. Celtic was one of them, the great Mr. Steen, and Newcastle, Tottenham Hotspur, they were all interested in signing me, but Dunfermline were such a big team at the time. For the third time, they had been in the Scottish Cup final in 68, beating Hearts, and the 41 games in Europe in the 60s. Mm-hmm. They had played 41 games in Europe. Amazing for a smaller team. And the odd game was the third game against Valencia. So that's the standard. We're at semi-final of the European Cup Winners' Cup. Dunfermline in the semi-final at that time, when the teams were great. And so they were a big team as well. So that I supported them as a boy. So I says, well, you know, if I'm going to make it away down south, I've got to make it with the local team. And I signed for Dunfermline, which was, for me, was one of the best days of my life. When
you went to sign, the Scottish Cup was sitting on the table, wasn't it?
I played for Townhill Boys Club for 3 seasons. And my friends, Dick Campbell, Ian Campbell, and a lot of my school pals, we were only 13, just turned 14. And a guy called Andy Young. If you think about Wraith Rovers, Young, McNaught and Leahy, that was a famous threesome. And he was the chief scout of Dunfermline, who stayed in Lochgelly, where I was born in Lochgelly. And he came and asked me, he watched me up just to play part playing against my brothers. And he came along and asked me to sign for the great Pars. So it was great. I just couldn't believe it.
See, when you look back there, Jim, and you're looking at Dunfermline Athletic with that proud European history, and a lot of it was obviously down to Jock Stein, but it continued after Stein left for Hibs, and you were to have dealings with Jock Stein in the future as well. But when you talk about or talk to any Dunfermline fan, they speak about the Stein era, but they also speak about the Jim Leishman era when you come back as a manager. But you got a terrible injury. Did you retire at 24?
I got the injury when I was 20, and it was, we had played Hearts at Tynecastle in 74, because I was marking Donald Ford. Mm-hmm. And the usual one, George Miller was the manager, and he called me Don Juan. He was Don Juan. And he says, Don Juan, you're marking Donald Ford today, he's quite that, but you mark him. If he goes off for the toilet, you go and wipe his bum and all that. That was the old stories you got in. A wee boy called Jackie Sinclair, who played with Newcastle when they won the first Cities Cup. He scored a hat-trick that day at Tynecastle. And the next week, we played them at East End. And again, I was playing against Donald Ford. And but the second half, Jim Jeffries came in, poof, that was it, compound fracture. I never really got back after it, because I was making good progress. Mm-hmm. Liverpool were interested at that time in Leeds United. And they were looking for bids. Andy Young had moved to Leeds then to become their chief Scottish scout, and Don Revie was in the stand. So I was going to go. Well, potentially I had the chance to go to Leeds and Liverpool, and they were, as you know, at that time they were the two big teams. And then unfortunately, never got back.
When you look at some of the Scottish players that were going down south at that time as well, Jim. And Leeds were a classic example, weren't they?
Yeah, Leeds. I played with Frankie Gray in the professional youth team.
Right.
He was with Leeds United.
Yeah. Castle Milk boy.
Aye, and Alan Hansen. You know, he was with Socky. Mm-hmm. And they boys with a great Scottish youth team. Gordon Smith, Jim Stewart, Gordon Smith Rangers. Brian McLaughlin, sadly passed away. Brian was
super. He was, yeah.
Brian was he was 2 years younger than us.
Amazing.
And he had already made his debut at Parkhead with Mr. Steen, and so we had a great team. We had Kenny Burns, right? Kenny Burns was the striker at that time.
What a sight! Who would have been the manager back then for the international?
Tommy Dockery.
Was it?
Tommy Dockery was the senior.
Right.
I'm talking about the under 18.
18s.
And a guy called Peter Rice was the amateur. But Tommy Dockery, it was a character. It was great. And got to know him with the dinners after it. But during that, he would walk in and he had a presence, and he wouldn't say much to us boys. He was
still going strong. You'd say plenty now to you, Jim.
I bet, yeah. I would say plenty back. The great boy. The great story, when he was in trouble with the tax situation down at Manchester, he was getting into bother. And I was speaking with him, and he came up with this great story. And he says, when I was going to court, instead of going to the main door, they were going to sneak me in another door, and I was to get the lift down to the court number 1 or whatever it is. So they sneak me in. All the photographers are outside, and I'm sneaking in. I'm just going to the lift, and the porter, the guy who's in the lift attendant, says to me, "Going down, Mr. Dockery?" "No, unless they can prove it, sir." That was great. I thought it was a funny story. The Doc, he's a great boy.
Brilliant.
Great.
The Doc gave Kenny Dalglish his international debut, Jim.
I did, he did, and he was a fantastic manager for Scotland, wasn't he?
No.
Yep, he was a fantastic manager all round, I think. Even at Manchester United. But you mentioned a player there, Kenny Burns.
Yeah.
That sometimes maybe in football and history, with Scottish football and history, we maybe forget what Kenny Burns done. He was a fantastic player, wasn't he?
As I say, I only played him, Jim, when he was a striker, a young boy, and I think he was 17, already married, and he used to smoke and all that. He was different, He was different. Then, he went down, and I can't remember who Brian Clough bought him from, but Nottingham Forest converted him with Larry Lloyd. That was your two centre, and hard as nails.
He was
hard as nails, the two of them. And he had a great career at Nottingham. I think he's still an ambassador. If you go down, Kenny Burns will be 3 stone heavier, but he's still there.
Did Kenny Burns get the 2 medals, or was it 1? Paul?
European medals. I'd need to check. I'm guessing 2, because it was back to back.
I think it was 2.
Back to back.
I think I would bet on 2.
I'm sure somebody live will tell us, Jim, if we're wrong. Somebody will check it.
Well, Paul.
What I often wonder, you had a very promising playing career, Jim, cut short through injury. At what point did you start thinking to yourself, I've got a wee bit about me to be a manager? Did you realise, even in your early days as a player, that you could influence your teammates?
Like, as a youth, I was always the captain of the team, and I always shouted encouragement to my teammates, and that's when I first got into sort of leadership, I would say, on the football field. But I never thought... After I broke my leg, I was trained... Ralph Brand actually was an assistant manager.
Right.
And Ralph Brand was a fitness fanatic. And he had me training 3 times a day. I had to go in 3 times. And a funny story, right? I went from 11 stone 6 to 13.5. I went back, Ralph says, right, we'll get the weight off and we'll get you fit. And we went down the Stuart Kennedy, right, Wembley, 5-1, right, Stuart Kennedy, bump, bump, bump. And Ralph Brand weighed me on the Thursday, put the weight on the board. He says, if you come back heavier than that, I'm fining you a week's wages. I said, oh no. So we went down, stopped at Blackpool, right, went clubbing in Blackpool on the beers, and we went to Brixton on the Friday before the game to this pub, and we were on the beers. Saturday all day at Wembley, right? Sunday coming home, I was to be at training on the Monday, and I said, if I go in today, I'm going to get a week's wages. I've just spent a week's wages down in London. So I phoned Ralph, I can't, do you mind? I've just got home at 4 o'clock. I'll come in for an afternoon training session, and I'll be fine. Right, okay, 2 o'clock. So I went to Carnegie Baths, and I put my tracksuit on, and the plastic bag, and I went in the sauna, eh? And I did shadow boxing in the sauna. I went back in £2 later, and I went away. And he says, "Oh, what do you do?" I said, "Oh, I just stayed off the bevy." And he had me doing, I was doing laps and fainting because I'd need nothing.
Oh,
and
shadow boxing in the sauna.
So I, honestly, with all the gear on, sweat.
Brilliant.
But the coaching side, I went to a team called Oakley, right? Fred Aitken that played with St Johnstone, the winger, great player Freddie was. I went to see them filming reserves on the Saturday. I was at the football, and I went for a beer at a pub called the Somewhere Else, and I'm sitting, and Freddie, a guy called Watty Logie, come in and says, "What, you know playing?" I hadn't played, I was playing golf, I hadn't played. He says, "Look, we're looking for players for Oakley Juniors, eh?" I says, "Oh, Freddie, I've no kicked above." He says, "Look, we'll get the wee manager, Tommy Wilson. He'll come out." On the Sunday, he did, the boy come out and started. I says, look, "You'll be fine, man, you'll be fine. We'll just play you sweeper." I says, so on the Tuesday, I said, "I'll come up on Thursday. I'll think about it on Thursday. If I'm going, I'll come out to training." On the Tuesday, I ran for Lochgelly to Kelty, where I was engaged to my fiance at the time, my wife Mary. And I ran up, and the wedding, I was nasty. I went on the Thursday and we played Newbury on the Saturday. We beat them 5-0. And I played, we won 2 junior league titles. But my legs were knackered. And I stopped at 26.
Right.
But I was a player coach. That's when I got in. I was a player coach at Oakley Juniors. And then after the 2 seasons playing, I went up, I was getting married, and my wife come from Kelty. And Kelty Hearts it was their first year in the junior setup. And they'd been going for about 8 weeks and that. And the guy that was the manager, they asked me to take over for him, and I went in, finished second that year, and then I went to Cowdenbeath with Andy Rowland,
Right.
As assistant manager at 26. Assistant manager. He got the sack after 3 months, and then I went back to Kelty for 2 weeks, and then I got asked to take the Dunfermline youth team. But Stanton was the manager, and I went back, took the youth team, and then Pat went to Hibs. Tam Forsyth got the job, he made me the reserve team coach. And Tam sadly passed away, a great boy, Big Tam. A great boy, a gentleman, and it was great working with me. But Tam couldn't adjust for full-time football, at Rangers, couldn't adjust to it, to part-time.
Yeah.
So Tam was that enthusiastic. He'd be sitting all day, he was full-time. He'd be sitting all day waiting on the players to come in, they would come in at 6:30. They'd be out in the training field for 7 o'clock, and Tam was still having them there at 10. Trying to go through him and Cam Murray, because they want to get everything done. Eh?
Yeah.
But the boys were working the next day, so it's hard going for him. But it didn't happen for Tammy, sadly.
He was a nice man, wasn't he?
Lovely.
Tom Forsyth. There's a lot of rivalry between obviously Celtic and Rangers, Jim. But when you get guys like that and Sandy Jardine and mixing across, they were all great pals together. But it was sad to hear of the passing. But I met him a couple of times, and lovely guy.
Aye, super.
Cracking guy.
And a great player for Motherwell and Rangers.
Yes.
Great. And in Scotland, great. I can remember that Channon tackle. I was at the game when he come across from nowhere, and Channon was going to tuck it in, and boof, took him out and took the ball, and when he fumbled that rocket shot for a yard, and just about in the cup final, I thought he was going to miss it. I says, "Damn Christ, I could score that, come on." Great.
Lovely man.
I didn't realise that you had been at Oakley United, Jim, so I'm delighted to hear that, because that's where my folks live just now. We've had it confirmed Kenny Burns did win 2 European Cup medals, but I got a message yesterday when I announced that you were coming on the show, and the message came in from Hugh Keevans. And Hugh Keevans said he's asking for you.
Great.
He says this podcast wouldn't be a podcast if you didn't tell us about your goal at Ibrox. So I'm duty bound to ask you about your goal at Ibrox.
Well, I've made that famous. I wind everybody up, but remember Dunfermline at that time, we're trying to avoid relegation as well, eh? And I scored on the Saturday at East End, my first goal in the first time against Clyde, in a 2-2 draw, and I got picked I was playing midfield. And Ibrox, why it was so good for me was, Rangers had qualified for the the European Cup, Winners' Cup in Barcelona. And the only player that wasn't playing that night for him was John Gregg. John Gregg was, there was somebody else that wasn't playing, because Willie Henderson played the right wing. Willie Henderson's last game for Rangers.
Is that right?
Willie Henderson's last game for Rangers that night. And so that they had, all the players were playing. It was frightening going down the tunnel, eh? Derek Johnson, Sandy Jardine, Alec MacDonald, Colin Steen, Alfie Cohen, Willie Johnson, Willie Matheson, Colin Jackson, Dave Smith, Peter, the big girl, they were all playing, eh? Here's me, it's my first season, I'm playing at Ibrox. I played in the reserves and all, but in the first team, boy. And 81st minute, Governend gets a ball, beats 2 players, and it hits a ball in, off the post. I was that far out. I was that far out. I had time to shout to Peter McCloy, "Oh, Peter, didn't bother diving." That's how far I was out. No, it was inside the box, but it was great. It was inside the box.
Is there any footage of that goal, Jim?
No,
there was no cameras. No, that's a shame.
No. The only photo I remember was the Daily Express, but I tried to get it, because honestly, you'll not believe this, but I was behind the goals doing the aeroplane. I was doing the aeroplane that night there. What was that? And Jordy Miller, the manager, I was only on £12 a week, right? That was my wages, and £5 in the reserves. And Jordy Miller gave me a tenner, eh?
All right.
Going up the tunnel, he come up and gave us a big hug. Don't want here, and he slipped a tenner. So he must have had a bet on it, eh? Illegal. Probably. But he was a right gambler, but I got a tenner. I'm like, that, 10 quid, man. I'll be able to take Brenda to the dancing on Saturday.
And your brother would have been happy being a Celtic fan?
Oh, I couldn't believe it. My pal, James McLean, right? With my signing on fee, right, I bought a wee Mini Cooper, right? And he always took my mum. And no, this was a midweek game, because on Saturday my brother would be going to Parkhead with the Loyalty Supporters Club. So he was there. And when I scored the goal, I'm going round behind the goals, and I'm running up. I'm still not excited, running up the main stand, and I looks up, and who's standing? Going like that was my brother. I see my thoughts, oh, sit down, you're going to get stiffened. They're going to kill you, man, sit down. And he's up there giving this. I says, oh, good on you, Mitch. He always remembers that, he says.
Oh, brilliant. We were talking earlier, you took over at Dunfermline in 1982.
83, yeah.
And the attendances at that time, Jim, 1,500?
No.
Even that?
No. My first game at East End was 697 people.
Is that right?
Against Queen of the South. So, and 50 of them were comps. Honestly. You got 25 comps for the players, and each, and 697. But first, I took over in October. I was 29, and they were 34th. Dunfermline were 34th out of a 38 team league. Mm-hmm. And that's how that. Now remember, when I started with them, they're winning the Scottish Cup, they're challenging Old Firm. They were a hard team to beat. And when I took over, 26 players I had. And I finished, I knew I was going to be a top manager, because I took over at 34th, and by the end of the season, we were 33rd. So progress.
So you were on your road there, Jim.
Aye.
So
11 players, sorry, Jim. 11 players go. And that's what made me think, I've got the bottle here. Because remember, these boys, a lot of them are older than me. Yeah. I've got the bottle here. I've got to do it, or I'm not going to survive. So and I got them. Sorry, Jim.
Thoughts, Jim, when you went in and you said, I've got a job to do here. We're 34th. How did you go about thinking that you were going to get them to become better, and most importantly, how did you think you were going to get them to become a unit and a team to work for each other?
I can remember my first team talk. Hamilton were at Hamilton reserves, and I got all the squad to go, every player, first team boys. They weren't happy. We're no training. I went in, and you've just mentioned it, Jim. I didn't go and say, hey, we're crap lads, this is terrible, we're 4th bottom. No. I went in, Jim, and I said to myself, hey lads, to the players, and they all laughed. Right lads, we're 34th top. we're 34th top. Now, that was a major statement. People laugh off that. But that, two things I got there. 34th, there's only way for Dunfermline to go up the way.
Yeah.
But I need you guys to get me there. And they said 34th top, we're rubbishy. So you got two statements. Hey, there's a journey ahead of you, but this is where we are in reality. We're crap. And they were crap at that time, getting beat for everybody. What did I do to get in? I knew I had to get better players in, Jim. And I worked so hard. And I think this is what got me the job, because I took over for 4 weeks before I got the job permanent. And on the Sunday, I went into the office and I'm looking through all the books, the who's playing with who, and right. And I started checking who'll be on who's going to get released. And the phone rang, and I picked the phone up, and it was the vice chairman, Doc Yellerly. And he phoned. Luckily, I was and he says, "Wow, this guy's keen here. Eh? This is what my Dunfermline supporter bump, because we hadn't had a Dunfermline supporter for quite some time, eh? Because Tam Forsyth, Pat Stanton, and then on the Monday I got the job on the Monday. 250 applicants or something, eh? And Mr. Steen, he was recommending John Clark. He was putting John Clark forward, right, for the job, eh? But luckily, I think I got it because I was cheap, eh? 50 quid a week, and 6 litres of petrol. That was my wages.
But that's a good incentive, wasn't it?
I could have done. I would have done it for nothing, Jim.
You'd have done it for nothing because you love and you've got a passion for the club. We've been talking about over the wee period here, Paul, haven't we? About the togetherness and how you mould a team to become a team. It's not just the players, the 11 players or the 16 players and the manager and his coaches. It's everybody at the club, isn't it? Everybody's got a role to play to make that become one and to go in the same direction.
What I did, Jim, right? Getting players together was one of my strengths. You know, managing these players collectively and individually, did that. I learned from Jock Stein. You go to the 61 Cup winning team. Jock Stein was great, right? And then you go back to Dunfermline's history, and two of their best fullbacks were John Lunn and Wally Callaghan, Ted Callaghan's brother. Now they were made, right, as youngsters, for a left winger to a left back, for a right winger to a right back, and two of the best. And I'm not being funny here. Jim Wallace and me, we were the new Callaghan and Lunns. Yes. Me at right back and Jim Wallace at left back. He played under 21 Scottish League, under 23 Scottish League, under 21. He got capped, and I'd broke my leg at the time, so I wasn't. But we were in that team as young kids, teenagers, going through and progressing. And I did that. Bobby Forrest was a left winger, right? And I made him left back. Yeah. Norick McCarthy was a midfielder. I put him to centre back. And Bobby Robertson to right back.
Versatility.
But they just made them solid, eh? And we became solid. Yeah. I brought in boys like, say, big Davy Young. Davy Young scored the first goal in the Premier League. I brought him in the second division. Big John Watson. He says, I say 500 quid. He said it was 300 quid. And he said I dipped him for 200. I can't believe it. But he was, I'm telling you, he just got engaged and he dipped his fiancée for 200. I know that. She told me that, right? But John Watson, who, again, Andy Young, having faith and trust in people. Andy Young knew me as a boy, as a young kid. And I trusted him. He went down, John Watson's first game for Dunfermline, Ayr United, reserves down there. I come back, Andy phoned us. Jim, he's like, you've got a player there, but he's 1.5 stone overweight. Get him in, tell me if he loses weight, bump. Now, John Watson became the golden shot. The year before was Bernie Slaven, Albion Rovers. The year after John Watson, Alistair McCoist, Glasgow Rangers. And John Watson was the first to score 30 goals for 300 quid. Absolutely. Transferred him, got him for nothing, transferred him to Fulham, Jimmy Hull, for 50 grand. Because of
that business.
Great. Well, I was bringing. John had done his time, eh? Yeah. Great. We're still great pals, John Watson and I. and what a contribution he made to our travel up in the leagues. But that's what it was, getting them to. I bet you, we went for 2 supporters clubs at Dunfermline. The Pitbockley Travel Club and the official Dunfermline Athletic Supporters Club. And when we got to the Premier League, we had 26 supporters club. And see the players, John Watson and Nora McCarthy, I put them in charge of the social calendar. Every request we got, they would handle it, and the players went. Not the same players every week, because they all split it up, but they were there. And the motto behind that, right, behind all that mad, see when you're having a hard time, these supporters know that you care for them because you've been at their club, you've been with them, you've been to see their kids, you've been to see their parents, you've been to see.
Brilliant.
And that was my managerial thoughts. Get them out, and that's when they all started coming in.
When you look at the Winker Watson and Norrie relationship, Jim, they had a great bond as pals, as friends, as well as teammates, and obviously they were there for a big part of that success. What I'd like to point out for anybody who's watching this who don't realise the impact that you had on Dunfermline first time round, we'll come back to the other impacts you had later on. You take over in 83, 600 and odd at your first game. By the time you're in the Premier League, by the time you actually leave, Dunfermline's average attendances were 14,500.
Amazing.
Now that's incredible. You had the buy-in from the whole town, didn't you?
Yeah. No, and the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Dunfermline. I think at that time there would be about 60,000 people in Dunfermline district. But then you've got Alloa, you've got Oakley, you've got Kincardine, you've got Carndale. But I went out to see them. I went out when they were starting. My brother, right, JT's Dunfermline, my brother stayed in Dunfermline. He started the JT's Dunfermline Supporters Club. So instead of going to Parkhead, unless it was a really, really European, he had a supporters club come to see us.
Fantastic.
It was amazing. I couldn't believe him. I couldn't believe it. But he loved it, eh? He loved it. My wee brother James is a manager, and it was great. But we went to all the clubs, eh? Old Smoky in Edinburgh. We went on a tour, and we came back on the Friday, and there were 6 supporters club having their Player of the Year. And we, all the team and the bus, we went to every one of them. We spent 20 minutes getting the presentation and moved on. We didn't let anybody doing these players. They never let anybody doing. And that was it. That was the attitude. They became... We weren't a community team. We were a team in the community. And there's a difference here, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, big difference.
We were a team in the community. And I encourage them to do that, because I was with them a lot of the times, if I could be. We were a team in the community.
You look at that, Jim, and that's a fantastic statement. You know, that actually, that brings you full of warmth, what you just says there. That, the team in the community. You look at your generation of gentlemen that was in the game, and you look at today that a lot of these supporters clubs maybe don't even get a player now, not even a visit. It's quite sad, isn't it?
That's sad, aye.
Quite sad.
Well, that's the management. Maybe no, you're not talking about the COVID period.
No,
you're
talking in general.
That shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. I wouldn't allow that.
No,
I wouldn't allow that.
I know you wouldn't, and maybe previous managers for various clubs wouldn't have allowed that either. No. But it seems to be, Paul, that it's difficult to get players now.
Oh, it definitely is.
To come along and just go and visit them, because it means so much. It means so much to the supporters. If just for one person, 140 walks through that door, and you look at it today, and what saddens me when I watch, and players have got the headphones on, they walk by, they walk right in. Back in the day, we'll come on to hopefully talk a wee bit about you meeting Jinky and playing against them and whatever. These guys would stop for everybody. Even today, Bertie at Celtic Park, he stops for everybody, and he's got time for everybody. Players of that generation, they've all got time. It just seems today It's headphones on, cap on, and walk by, doesn't it?
Different generation. It really is.
The guys back in my time, they weren't in their mind superstars. They were village people. They were miners' boys, and they were, labourers' boys and that. And they were just delighted getting the job. Nowadays they're 150, 200, 300,000 pound a week, £1 million a week for Messi. But I would stop that. I know the money. The money is the money. It's far too much in my mind. But hey, it's not the players' fault. If they're going to get it, they'll get it. But they would be at meetings. No matter, they would be there for the punter that saved up all his bloody money, saved up every year to get him and his boy, him and his lassie, or he's went with his dad for 25-year season ticket. That's more important.
Aye, absolutely. And you look at it, Paul, it's refreshing hearing Jim actually saying that.
Oh, it is.
But people maybe, my generation, then you've got your generation and you get the younger generation again. But I understand completely what you're saying. Maybe the younger generation will not get it as much, not the young kids in it. But it was magnificent when you used to see and the players would just stop and talk to you and whatever. So you look at players back in your day, there, Jim, good, smashing, cracking footballers compared to today. From your era and players that you've met, who would you have up there today and beside like guys like you've got Ronaldo and Messi and Cantona and players like that and Beckham? Who would you put up there?
Jim Baxter would be there.
Definitely.
Jim Baxter was quality.
Yeah.
Juby Junkie was. See, if you look at the European Cup final, right?
Yeah.
The film, Celtic had to defend a lot of the time, right? On the breakaway, because the Italians were defending, they scored the goal, so they just sat in there. But one of Celtic's best defenders was Jimmy Johnson.
Yep.
You give him the ball and you time it, right? You time it. As soon as you give him the ball, you count in seconds how long he kept that ball. Now, some of it's 8 seconds, 9 seconds. How far can you run in 8 seconds? Half the length of the park. And Jimmy's giving you time when he's got the ball up there to get your defence out and pressurise them.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, that performance. We talk about Tommy's goal, which was brilliant, and was it Willie Wallace? Stevie Chalmers, sorry. But you look at Jimmy's performance, it was absolutely amazing. So I played against Jimmy Johnson twice and never met him once. Never met him. It was the wee dribble. And you know what kind of funny story? Jimmy, it was a reserve game. My first time I played Jimmy Johnson was a reserve game at Parkhead. It was a Scottish Reserve League Cup, and Jimmy had been injured for a while, maybe 2 or 3 months or something, and he was making his comeback. And it's when the Jungle was there, and I'm going through, and the manager says, Don Juan, that was my nickname, Don Juan, he says, I'm going to play your left back tonight. I says, left back? He says, you'll be all right, you'll be all right. And then I says, right, left back, I'm getting a game, it's great. And the ready Celtic teammate, and wee Jimmy was making a comeback. I says, and I crapped myself. I said, oh no. And I went out and amazing. And he would talk to you all the time. I was young, I was only 17. You're doing fine, son. You're all right, son. You can't have cheeky wee. And I was cheeky wee, and he's got the board. You're not want to listen to him when you're looking at the board. The next thing he's away, you say, come on, stop making a fool of yourself. You're making a fool of yourself. Stay up. But it was amazing. Amazing. So the difference with the reserves then was in the first team.
Aye.
It was different. We beat them. Sorry. We went and we got beat off with Partick Thistle in the final.
Paul and I was talking, was it yesterday, Paul, about reserve?
Yeah, just yesterday.
Football,
yes.
And the importance of it back in the day. And so you've got Jim Baxter up there, you've got Jimmy up there.
Willie Henderson.
Oh, what a lovely man.
Aye, Willie Henderson, a great man of mine.
Aye.
Willie, and a lot of
great guy.
But Bobby Murdoch.
Bobby.
Quality, Danny McGrain,
Yeah.
Davy Hay. They were all Celtic. Honestly, Celtic then, the European Cup team was just phenomenal. And then they got the young kids, what they call it, Celtic babes or something. What they called?
Quality Street Kids.
Quality Street Kids.
Yeah.
They started with Dalglish, Davy Hay, Lou McCarry. You know, that's your reserve team. You know, then you had Rangers, Sandy Jardine,
Yep.
Dave Smith. Dave Smith was quality.
Quality player,
defender,
yes, quality.
And Wally Henderson, Wally Johnson. 2 international wingers. Wally Henderson goes down to Wembley and plays in Puskas' World Cup against the select team. You know, how many of the Scottish boys would get picked for that now?
That's right.
No disrespect to them, eh? Good guys and that, and they're trying their best. But at that time it was different.
Willie tells the story. We're hoping to get Willie Henderson on the show when we can, but he tells the story. We're based at Jimmy Johnson Charitable Trust Academy is based at Cartkin Park. I don't know if you remember that part.
Yeah.
You remember it?
Yeah.
And Willie came over and he James, I want to tell you this story. He said, I get a phone call. Is that William? Is that William Henderson there? Yes, it is. It is. I would like you to play in a testimonial game. So he thought it was an actual wind-up. So he went down and represented, there was the rest of the world team, and Sir Stanley Matthews.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about that, doesn't he? And it was him, Jim Baxter was in it as well. And he says, Puskas, Di Stefano, Santa Maria, all these different players. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said it was fantastic. But a nicer man you could not meet, and a dear friend. And I don't use that. I don't use that term loosely.
Yeah.
A dear friend to Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, aye.
They
Well,
loved
he's a
each
gentleman.
other.
Willie Henderson's a gentleman.
Yes.
And he played in that game, that game when I scored the 4th goal, the winning goal. Willie played in that game.
Did he?
That was his last game for Glasgow Rangers.
Yeah.
Against Dunfermline Athletic.
What a player.
Oh, different type for the wingers for Jimmy Johnson.
Yep.
You know, Jinky tells you what kind of player he was, eh? Where Willie had a wee bit more pace and he was solid. You look at Jimmy Johnson's thighs and look at Willie Henderson's thighs at that time. They were wee boys, right?
Aye.
5'3" or 5 whatever, but you see it, they're baldy.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But look at the boys that kicked him, eh? Because they were hardy boys and they didn't bother. They go up. They knew they had to get up, not to let their team do. And it was for me. It was a pleasure, man. Again, people say, "Oh, you play against them." It was a pleasure. I've trained for all my life to play against these boys. Why play against a numpty that you're going to hammer? Get out and test yourself, man. And that was a thrill. It was a thrill, man. Not just Willie Henderson and Jimmy Johnson. You look at Kilmarnock with Tommy McLean when they. Tommy was at the Rangers at the time, but Tommy Kenny Ayre, the Dundee United boys, and Fred Aitken. He was a great winger. Check Freddie's history. A great crosser of the ball, and Aberdeen. Again, the wingers were hundreds of them. Hundreds. Gordon Smith when I was playing. Gordon was a great Casper. I used to call him. He was a great. And the Motherwell boys, Chris, they had great wingers too. Every team. We had Alec Edwards. Don't forget Alec Edwards, what a great player he was.
Yep.
Jock Stein gave him his debut at 16.
What did you find special about Mr. Stein?
He phoned me when I got the job, eh?
Yep.
He was recommending John Clark for the job. Why the board picked me, I didn't know, but he phoned me. He phoned me and he says, "Look, son, you've just become the manager, one of the finest teams in Scotland."
Brilliant.
He says, "They're having a hard time now, but just give it your best shot." And that was all. Simple.
Class.
I can remember the first time I met him. I was at Dunfermline game, a European game. I was 14, outside, and I only had a bit of paper, eh? I had a bit of paper and a pencil, and I went up and asked, "Mr. Stein, could you sign my paper?" He signed it, and he wasn't pleased, eh? "Can you not get yourself an autograph book, son?" That was his first time he spoke to him. "Can you not get yourself?" I said, "Guys, I'm full of Gilly, man. I'm skint." You know what I mean? And I wish I'd kept it because it was. I'm talking about in the 60s, when he was at his peak.
His peak.
But I met him on, when he would come through to Logelly or Lahore Celtic Supporters Club and do wee chats, and I would be in his company. Be sitting with him, and just he had a driver, so he'd be there for an hour and away he went. But he had the pleasure of sitting with me. But he had a real soft spot for Dunfermline, getting the opportunity.
Oh, he did, aye.
And it's a great game against see, I was brought up on all his stories. The mighty Everton, when Dunfermline played Everton Football Club, and they had Billy Bingham, and they were the millionaire team, right? That was a big. What was the wee boy's name? Alec Young. If the Hertz went to, and they were all playing, and the draw was made. And where is Dunfermline? And we're playing against our country cousins and all that was it. And Mr. Steen went into the toilets and pinned it, put it, sellotaped it on the board at the back of the door. He put them on the door, so the boys are going for the loo before it, and they're reading this. And you know, when you're looking at Ron Mailer and all the boys, you know, they were tough as old nails. And Dunfermline had a great team, 6-1, and we beat them. We beat them 2-0.
Fantastic.
And that was that, and I got a lot for that, about getting into the minds of people.
Oh, aye.
And when I'll give you some stories about my motivational thing, how I against the Rangers and against Celtic, it wasn't building them up. They were all. It was making them believe they could beat them, And I don't know if you want the examples.
Well, they two games, when you think about that, I mean, that's in season 87-88. You're in the Premier League, Jim. You beat Celtic at Celtic Park.
It's 2-0.
And you beat Rangers 2-0 in the Cup. Mm-hmm. And so I've spoken to some of the guys who were in the Dunfermline team. Going back to what you said about Watson, John Watson says, you said to him when he signed, "I'm going on a journey, I want you to get on the bus. Come on this journey with me." And he painted the picture. And Watson actually said, "I know you're haggling over 200 quid there, Jim." He said he would have signed for anything for you. Anything. But there's a famous story about the team talk when you beat Rangers 2-0.
Was that
you want to share it with us?
Well, I say to the players, right? I say to all the boys, "Guys, I can't pay you the same." Graham Souness had just taken over, and it was the Souness revolution. He says, "I can't pay you what the Rangers players are getting, but I can treat you like them." And I went up to the Old Course Hotel, right? And I met the managing director. And I said to him, "Look, we've got a cup tie on Saturday, and I'd like to come up and train here and do it." He says, "What's your budget, Jim?" I told him my budget. "Right, on Friday, come up on Friday. We'll put a dinner on Friday. You'll get your pre-match late breakfast." And great. I says, "No, I want to come up on Wednesday." And they laughed. "Jim, it's Old Course Hotel, man. Look what you're..." I said, that's a single room. And I says, no, I want to come up on the Wednesday, and this is true. Russ Furlong, his name was. Russ Furlong. I says, "Russ, I'll tell you what I'll do with you. We'll get all the TV stations I want to go to this game, right? I will not let the players off the campus at the Old Course. STV, BBC, Sky News, Sky Sports, they'll come here and do the interviews here at the Old Course. All the TV, all the papers, Record, The Sun, Express, Mail, everything, they'll come up. We're not going to go to the East End and get photos at East End. They'll get photos here at the Old Course. Grampian TV, all of them. The radio interviews, they'll be by telephone for here, or they'll come and interview us here, all the players. Everything will be done for the Old Course." Ross, he says, "What, Jim? How much are you giving me to come?" Think about that. How much that would have cost for them to get that publicity. And that was my mind thought. And I went up, and then I goes in. I'm a Logelly boy. I'm from Logelly. I'm staying at the Old Course where Jack Nicklaus and Nick Faldo in this room, the President's Suite, right? And I walks in. I'm not kidding you. And Sorry, you're just reminding me of a great story. Old Wally, the boot boy, 70-odd-year-old. He was my boot boy, my great pal. He was there for, what was his signing? Wally. And I goes up. I says, Wally, I need you to come to the old course with us. And when the boys finish training, I'll get you a room and you just tidy their boots up. Just get them ready for training the next day. Oh, I've got a sister up there. I'll come with you. I'll go and see my sister, 70-odd-year-old. Great boy. So I said, right, I'll pick you up, Toon Hill Road. So he goes up, and he's outside his house. He's got a paper bag, plastic bag, sorry, son. And I thought, right, where's your case? No. He says, this is all I need. I've got my Steradent, right? I've got my Steradent for my teeth. I says, I've got my half-bottle of whiskey. I says, right. I says, what about your... No. I says, I've got a spare pair of underpants in there, in case anything. I said, I've got a pair on. The morning, I'll turn them inside out. That'll do me the day in the morning. My new pair will do me Friday and for the Saturday came, and that's the way I do it up. It was great. It was great. It was a great old boy. And I'm on this presidential suite going along, and I thought I had all the boys, the training boys, not waiting on the coaches coming. I'm going in. I says, Christ, I thought you would have come and met me, eh? So it goes into the chunky, right? I'm sitting down, and there's a Bible next to the toilet. The Bible. So I'm looking through, and the phone rang in the toilet. I picked up Jim Black, right? The reporter, Jim Black.
Yeah.
Hi, Jim. He says, Rangers are more. What exciting! Oh, it's great. I'm really looking forward to it. We're up at the Oakers. Well, what's your theme tomorrow for your famous team tours? I says, well, David and Goliath. David and Goliath. He said, what do you mean, David and Goliath? I says, well, the big Goliath's coming through for Glasgow, right? To hammer us. And we David, instead of going back, I'm going to get David to go and meet them. That's my theme. So the players didn't. So the next day I'm talking, I says, right lads, I'm going to tell you a story today of the Bible, David and Goliath. David's going to come through and he's going to hammer you. He's going to, because you'll be fair to him. David, Goliath hasn't been attacked before because he's that big and that strong. If we're going to get beat, let's go and give him a go. Let's see how he can defend, eh? Let's see how he can react to getting hammered. So didn't step back, step for it. All of us together have the bottle to do that. What happened to Goliath? Dunk. One knock, boof, fell down. That was the end of the story. You heard about David after it, but no Goliath. And that was my mindset, the boys. We beat them 2-1 Celtic. Eh? The Rangers game, can I go into that?
Oh yeah.
That was brilliant. Again, we're playing Graham Souness's team. No, that was the David Celtic, right? When we beat Celtic that game 2-1. It was the first game against Celtic in the Premier League. My talk. Lads, last night, I watched the telly. A documentary come on for this boy, Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King. Now listen to this. What a boy this. You know, he had so much belief in his religion and his colour. And he did a speech to his kids, or to the people, and he says, I have a dream. Don't judge a person by the colour of his skin, whether it's black, yellow, white, or brown. Don't judge the person by that. It's what's underneath that colour. That's what the person is. That's what you look at. See, today, Celtic Football Club is going to sit through in that dressing room. They're going to put that green and white strip on, and as soon as they put that strip on, they fear nobody. They think they're going to beat everybody because they've been brought up like that. I'm wanting you going down the steps today to look at your opponent and take that green and white strip off. Didn't judge that Celtic player by the colour of his strip. You look at what's underneath that, and that's where the real person is. Is he bigger than you? Is he stronger? Can he jump higher? Can he run faster? Can he shoot harder? No. But they think they can. You go and look at your opponent and you go and match that and see how you get on. See how you get on. and we beat Celtic 2-1. So it was Rangers in the cup with David and Goliath, because soon as it was the Terry Butchers and Chris Woods,
That's right.
all they guys, you know, and then Celtic, because of their faith and their belief all the time, brought up like that, this team. I says, come on, that's how, and that was not to do with tactics, mindset. That
State
was my
of mind.
strength. Eh?
It's a state of mind, and you know, Jim. Sometimes you can talk about all the tactics in the world, but see if you haven't got that motivation from within yourself, there's no point talking about any tactics.
No.
You must have that motivation. You must have that state of mind. You've got to have that heart intelligence in there working together with your intellectual intelligence, as we've spoke before, and you've nailed it. You've got them motivated. You've got them believing. You've got them knowing that there's nothing out there that they can't do, and you achieve 2 magnificent, fantastic results, didn't you?
And you enjoy them, Jim.
Of course you did.
You've got to enjoy them, because they didn't come along every week.
Oh.
You didn't do that every week. So that's why people say, "Oh, look at him, he's all excited." No, because it's something
Special, isn't it?
Special. Ross Jack says we had a thing at Carnegie Hall, the roller coaster years, because before it, the film were doing, and we went up, we got relegated, and then we went back up, and he says, when he got asked a question for, I think it was Bill Leckie, I think, he got asked a question, and Ross Jack answered, this is his answer, he says, at 5-3, every home game at East End Park, no matter who we were playing, we believed we could beat them.
Yeah.
Every home game. And that meant so much to me, because I wasn't a great tactician. What is tactics? As you say, right, we'll play 4-4-2, you're getting beat 2-9 after a quarter and you're, oh, right, I'll change to 2-3-5 and you get beat 4-9. Right, you know, tactics it's about winning. It's about winning, and you know, I had good coaches, I had good people. My biggest strength as a football manager was getting people that are good at their job to help me out.
Absolutely, but as you say, the magic thing there, I don't know if you heard it there, Paul. I caught it there. You know, we were playing a 4-4-2, then we're getting beat, and you see the magic work, then we would change it to 2-3-5. 2-3-5. You never hear. I mean, that's you talking about your outside left, your inside left, your centre forward, your inside right, and your outside. Oh, it's brilliant. That is no, but we should never forget.
No,
but all these things are important. But you're right. Tactics can be for the board. Tactics can be for the mind, for the heart, for whatever it may be. So whatever tactics that you've got, you use to your ability to how to outclass your opponent. Brilliant. Great hearing this stuff. It's brilliant, Paul. I'm loving it.
One of my biggest strengths, Jim, was Paul, was signing good players.
Yeah.
I signed good players. The first time I got, right, when I took over 34th, we got promotion, won the second division. The next year, we got promotion again, consecutive years into the Premier League.
Yeah.
They changed it to 3 going down, remember?
That's right.
They changed the league system, and we would have stayed up if it was the old system.
Aye.
But we went back down.
Aye.
Now,
that's right.
I stayed loyal to the boys right through there. And then when we went to the Premier, it was just a wee bit out of their depth. Just a wee bit. Great boys. I love them forever, and I'll thank them forever for what they achieved at that time. And I mean that, they were great. And I told them when they left, look, you're leaving here as an achiever, You're not leaving here as a failure. You'll go to another team and you'll do well again. And that's when I started bringing in Istvan Kozma, George O'Boyle, Stuart Beattie, Davy Irons, John Holt. John Holt was brilliant. John Holt won something like 16 Player of the Year awards out of the 26. He won 16. Now, all I did with John Holt, he was a full-back up at Tannadice, or a midfielder. I made him a sweeper. I put him at the back. And he was magnificent. Magnificent. Didn't have to tell him that. But he got homesick, wanted to go back to Dundee. Bought him for 50,000. Player of the Year, 16 times. He'll argue, he might say it's 17. Still talk to him often. And I got my 50 grand back for Jockey Scott to go back. He went up to Dundee. And then
He was a cracking player.
Underestimated at Tannadice because he had You had David Neary,
Yeah.
Paul Sturrock,
Yeah.
Paul Hegarty, all the boys again. David Dawes, they had a great with Derek Starr, all the boys. But we actually, he became a great influence on the other boys. Great experience.
That's what we've been talking about as well, Paul, haven't we? That if we, you can bring a player in and he can give great motivation run about him if he's been a good pro or he is still a good pro. If you get a good centre back there, but he's leading by example, and you know there's lots of different ways to be a good player.
Oh, definitely, he was great. He had so much experience in Europe. Cup finals, league championships. He was involved in all that. So, but he was still fit. He still looked after himself, and he wasn't struggling fitness wise. He was and great signing.
What I love when you mention this Van Cosmo and George O'Boyle, I think it kind of illustrates how far the club had come as well, Jim. Because I spoke to Davy Moyes, the original Davy Moyes, and he was telling us about signing for you, and you went and visited him. I think he was working on the bridge. Is that right?
No, he was
Forth
working
Bridge.
he was in Edinburgh at the Carlton Hotel.
Right.
He was a brickie round the back. Funny. Can I talk about Davy?
Oh yeah, he was a great guy when I met him.
One of the best signings I made, and £1,500 made a bank thistle. So, but he wanted £1,500 yeah. I was only want to give him a $3,000. I said, Davey, I've paid money for you. And he says, no, I'm sticking to my guns. And I needed somebody like him to win the ball in midfield. This was when we went to the Premier League. And him and wee Gary Thompson, sadly, Gary fell off the scaffold and he died then. But Davy's playing. So gets up, goes to Meadowbank Stadium, gets his bits, still filthy for a week of 4, and goes through East End. So I'm starting my team talk. I'm going to introduce Davy Moyes. I said, boys, where's Davy? I think he's in the kitchen. So he goes through the kitchen. He's got a Scotch pie. He's hammering a Scotch pie. Right, I said, Davy, you're playing in an hour's time, man. Oh, I'm staring, man. I'm staring. I've not had any dinner. I gave him about 60 minutes. And then, excuse my language here, right? That year, our competitors were Dumbarton. Alec Totten and Bert Payne were, that was the management staff at Dumbarton. Owen Coyle, Ronnie Coyle, all the Coyles.
That's it, all the Coyles were there.
They were all playing, right? And we're doing it at Dumbarton, midweek. And it was freezing, and we had started really well. And Davy and midfield, and we nothing at the time. And somebody hit the ball right outside the dugout, and I hit Davy on the face, square on the face. And he's no teeth in, he's no tap teeth. And all he heard was, he looks at me, his jaws, he goes, and he looks at me, he says, Gaffer, time to start punching pussies, he says. Well, you saw the coils going zzz. We won't do nothing. Excuse the language, but true, that's what he said. Brilliant. And I promised him, I says, if you score, at that time it was Umbro, right? And you had the big Umbro coats on.
That's right.
I says, you score a goal, Davy, and I'll give you an Umbro coat, brand new. Well, the last game of the season, doing it at Berwick, what does he do? Score a goal. Well, he's gone. He's coming right up. And his first thought in mind, mind my coat. That's what he shouted at the dugout. He got his coat. He got his medal and never came back. Never came back. I phoned up and says, Davey, I want to talk to you. Davey, sorry, I'm not good enough for the Premier League. I'm going to just send my bits. Give me my bits. He knew his capabilities.
Is that right?
Aye, he never came.
Trinent boy.
Trinent boy.
Yes.
Great signing for me. You can,
So you go for £1,500, Davy, right up to Isvan Cosmo, George O'Boyle, international players. You're signing guys from Bordeaux. You know, was Isvan Cosmo know your record signing at that
600,000.
Yeah.
600,000.
Incredible.
And we got 625 Liverpool for him. Soonest loved him. So we didn't lose it in that, but he was a character. He's
a cult hero at Dunfermline, isn't he?
Oh, still is. I'm speaking to him tomorrow on a Zoom for the business club. We're connecting up with Isvan and Ross Jack tomorrow. And great story. He was a prankster.
Was he?
I'd go in the dressing room, right? And in the dressing room next to it, there's a door and there's a treatment room. So I went in one day, and there's a £5 note sticking through the door, I bent down to pick it up. And they pulled it away, and I hit my head and I opened the door, eh? And I smoked cigars at the time, and he got a lighter, and you pressed it, and it went bang. Well, he always got me, eh? Great. And I went to Bordeaux. Blair Morgan was the director who was the contact. He was starting to become an agent, and he met this guy, the chief executive would call him, Didier Kwiku, who played in the '66 World Cup.
Right.
I think that's the pronunciation, Didier Kwiku. And I went across, and he was trying to buy a fishing estate in Scotland. So he must have had a few bob. And as I say, he was in the French squad for the '66 World Cup. They got Pally and whatever, and then we got introduced to this one. And we had to speak to the French guy who translated to the French boy, who then had to speak to the Hungarian translator to speak to his family. I think they dipped me for about 10 grand between the three conversations, I'm telling you. But he come across, and one of the best hat-tricks I've ever seen against St Mirren.
St Mirren, yeah.
Unbelievable. Second half, we're getting beat 1-0. Campbell Money was in goal. And the wee striker that was assistant manager to Alistair McCoist at Rangers.
McDowell, Kenny McDowell.
Kenny McDowell was the striker then, and some guys, a lot of no bad players, and 1-0. We're getting beat 1-0, and then we scored 2 goals. I think Rose Jack scored. Definitely one. The second half, 12 minutes. Left foot, right foot, and a header. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So natural. It wasn't a real team player, this one. He was more an individual, but he was a 47 caps for Hungary. Kind of
Class player. Class player.
Class. And soonest loved him, eh? But you had to be in Scotland for 2 years before you could move to another team. As soon as
Right, with the work permits.
work permit thing.
When it came to the point, though, Jim, I remember thousands of people marching in the streets of Dunfermline. I mean, this happened, Jim. People were marching in protest of you not being the manager of the Pars.
I remember that.
Did you feel at that time, because there was an opportunity for you to stay at the club and do something else, that you had enough to offer as a manager? Was that your reason?
I was too young.
Yeah.
Paul, if I'd been the age I am now, or when I went back, I was even 40. You know what I mean? I did one. By the time I had won 4 promotions for Dunfermline. You know, and one of my regrets I didn't go down south. I should have went and gave it a wee chance down south. But I won promotion in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000. The 2000 ones, it was at Livingston, and the 90s and 2000. No bad record. 35-year-old, I think, has won 4 promotions on Fairland. 35. And we're only 5 points away from Europe. And I says, no. There was a change over the board and everything. I was really upset at the time.
Yeah.
I was really upset, and the fans were.
Oh, they were.
Stuart Adamson, big country.
I remember it. Yeah.
Stuart and his son Callum headed the match.
Yep.
For the
Some
Glen.
great pictures of that.
But you think you done Dunfermline. Actually, my first ever game to go and see Celtic was the cup final.
61?
No,
65.
65.
Yeah.
Was against Dunfermline, and I loved the thin.
Candy stripe.
I always liked that, and I've always liked that strip. It's been brilliant, maybe because of the memories back then. But that was my first ever game as a wee laddie. I was taken to that game, but. You can't mention Dunfermline without mentioning Jim Leishman, or thinking about Jim Leishman when you mention Dunfermline. Well, I certainly do anyway. And obviously, you touched on there Livingston. So you've met Willie Hockey, and you go into Livingston. And how did it feel going for a club that you adored and that you loved to go and work in now, maybe in a wee environment that was completely different for where you were comfortable in?
Yeah, it was a new project, brand new project. I'd left Dunfermline and there was no vacancies, and Jock MacDonald, who was the Highlands rep for the SFA, he came down to Glasgow, interviewed me, and he says, Jim, would you like to come up to the Highland League? And I says, well, I'm not sure, Jock. He says, we can't afford to pay your loads, but you get tomato and whiskey distilleries will contribute to your wages. And I went up there to start. This was my journey getting back into the fold. And lost my first 2 games, Cove Rangers 4-0 and Ross County 5-0. I says, what am I doing here? What's this all about? Signed 2 boys for here, a Scottish junior international, Willie Spence and Willie Callaghan, Ted Callaghan's nephew, and we won our next 10 games. And that got me back in 10 out of 10, 30 points out of 30. And that got me back into the, hey, come on, I said, if that was your life, come on. I did well there, went to Montrose, hopeless at Montrose. I says, right, that's me. And I went to Rosyth Juniors for a season. 3 cup finals we got beat for Hillybeath, Hawthorn in the 3 cup finals. But it was they boys 3 cup finals was low to them. And then me and George McNeil were going to the miners club outside Livingston. We're speaking, and Bill Hunter, the chairman of Livingston at the time, was there. And I says to George, get the crowd going. Tell them about what I did at Dunfermline and get the crowd. So the crowd, when Bill Hunter just sat there, Leishman, we had wound them up, Leishman. So he says, look, Jim, their boys are all local, he says. Come and see me in the morning. So I went to see him, I got the job. Ali Dawson was supposed to be going to get the job, and he gave me the job, and they were in the 3rd division. And it was just fantastic. Livingston, for the 3rd division, 3rd top in the Premier League, and Vaduz for Liechtenstein and Sturm Graz, and never got beat at home in Europe. We never got beat at home. Won the 2 home games.
But it's incredible, Jim, because the only teams above you, Celtic and Rangers. I know. Qualifying for Europe. That's an incredible journey again.
The only team we didn't beat that year was Celtic. The only team we never beat was Celtic. We drew with them, and that was all. And they got all the points. And
that was a fine team. That was under Martin O'Neill with Helmut Larsson and Chris Sutton.
And the goalie and whatever. We're beating them 1-0 at Parkhead, honestly. 1-0 at Parkhead, Boxing Day. And I said, we're going to do this. And Larsson never kicked the ball game, and boof, 1-1. I feel like stiffening the week. And just a wee tap in. The boys were knackered, but what a great memories, man. Great memories of that season. So some good players. David Fernandes signed him signed off for Airdrie for nothing. Sold him for 1.2 million to Martin O'Neill after a year.
Right.
Javier Broto to Celtic.
Yeah.
Sanchez, Javier Broto, goalie, great goalie. Marvin Andrews to Rangers, got him for £5,000. £5,000 for 8 Rovers. Unbelievable.
You had big Rab, didn't you?
Rab Douglas. That was the story. I've taken our Meadowbank Thistle. We're at is it King James Parks? Just behind Holyrood. And that was where Livingston, at that time, Meadowbank trained. And this big boy come up, can I train? I says, well, you've got to get a trial, son. I'm signed. Because I fell out with the manager before.
Right.
I'm already signed. I said, if you're a signed player, son, of course you're trained. I said, this boy's nobody. They were going to transfer him to Lanark United, the juniors, for £1,000. £1,000. And I says, no chance. And after 6-7 weeks, it was my first team goalie. And I transferred him to Dundee. Cowboy McCormack phoned us up, Jim, your goalie. Rob was a brick at the time and a part-time fireman. And I pulled him in. I got him in. I says, come on. He just had a Bernie. And he was not want to go. Oh, I like it here. I says, Rob, didn't be stupid, Dundee, man. You're going to be... And I go, Kevin, the wee winger. I don't own. And I sold him for £110,000 or something. And then he went to Celtic and I got another 100,000.
Did you ever sell on Big Rab?
I'm for Logelly, son. Logelly boy, aye. Got another 100,000 we got.
Was you started on a sell on figures, wasn't it?
No, just a bit. I was close, but we got another, because he went to Celtic for 1 point something like that.
That was over $1 million,
and we got 10%.
That's brilliant, John.
Great, good business. But he's a great boy, eh?
Oh, I like Rab.
Oh, great boy.
I do like him.
When I see him, he just great. And
does loads for charity as well. Rab Douglas.
Up there. I've been in one of his functions, helping him out. Rab, best game I've ever seen. Stranraer in the cup, doing it at Stranraer. He saved a penalty, we beat them, and murder day, and he kept us in that cup. What a game he
I
had.
think he was playing even last season. Did he not play a game? Standing.
Uh-huh.
Aye.
He's a big fat lad, eh?
Oh, he's actually in good shape at the
Oh,
minute.
he's a great goalies. Livingston. Horace Stout, can you remember him?
I can't mind him.
The Barbados boy at Meadowbank. But he busted his knee against Queen's Park the year we got promotion. Brian McPhee hit one for about 25 years, tuck in his eyes, boof, and he come on down his knee, burst all his knee. And that's when Rab took over for him. And Neil Alexander bought him for Stensmuir, 15 grand. Sold him to Cardiff for 110.
Brilliant.
Rab Douglas. You know, I got my 200,000 for Big Rab.
And Brotto.
Have you? Character.
See, when we're looking at Jim Leishman the player, Jim Leishman the manager, I'm always intrigued to hear more about Jim Leishman the poet. I'm waiting for this book of poems to come out, Jim. When did you get into that?
Oh, when I was at primary school, to be honest. The teacher, Mrs. Timmins, her name was, and she's right class, but why don't you do a small poem, but you've got to have a motto about it. You've got to have a reason why you're writing the poem. At that time, Cassius Clay, it was called Cassius Clay at the time, and Sonny Lisson, they were fighting the World Championship. So I wrote a poem about the mouse and the mole. The mouse's name was Sonny Lisson because when in the fight, he put his fist in, and it went on like that. And the last line, I wish I'd kept these silly wee things, and because I was only 8 or 9 years old. And the last line was, so never fight and you'll be all right. And that was my motto.
That's
and,
it.
And
That's a
that
great
was,
motto.
And that was that was my first ever poem. And I used to do things. People used to ask me to at funerals and that, Jim, I'd done films about, or wee Gary Thompson's. I did Gary's. I tried to do Gary's and I couldn't do it. And I would write but I could put in words what I thought about him. Of times I sit and wonder, and that's the reason why God's taking Gary instead of me to the sky. And I would fill it in, going down. And but the first one that brought fame was St. Greaves of the Rangers game. I'm up at St. Andrews and Jim White come up to do the Saints and Greaves show up there, which I promised I would do that. That's national, And the old course were loving this. So the cameras going about, they were loving it. And Jim White said, "Come on, Jim, give us a poem, And Muhammad Ali was one of my heroes, And I says, right, I'm going to predict like Muhammad Ali did. I'm going to predict the score tomorrow. And it's, oh Lord, you know the dangers each time you go and play the Rangers. Dunfermline 2, the Rangers 1. What a thrill when you beat the soonest man. And this is live on the TV. And Rangers mucked my poem up, because they scored a goal, right? So it was 2-1 instead of 2. Dunfermline 2, the Rangers 1. No, sorry, Rangers didn't score a goal. And then I did. The funniest thing about the poems, right? I'm in the house in Kelty Bridge, and we're playing, I don't know if it was Old Firm or Hearts, and Hazel Irvine worked, and she was coming through from Glasgow to interview me live, or record it for the night. And Chick Young phoned me, right? We Chick phoned me. He says, Leish, Hazel's coming through, and she's going to do the interview in verse. She's wrote a poem, right? I says, go and recite it, Chick. Go and recite. She says, wait, I'll try and get it. So he told me this poem that she was going to say. So I never said nothing. So Hazel comes up, and away she goes, this poem. So she stopped, and she's got a big smile on her face. Fair chuffed that she's got this poem. Well, I answered her in a verse. You should have seen her face. I can't believe this boy. He's just heard this poem, and he's wrote a poem when I'm saying this. She didn't ken the Chick and told me all about it. And her face she says, Jim, I didn't think she came to this day. Jim, that was amazing. What a brain you've got. That's fantastic.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's super. That road's road.
But it is superb. So see why we've been sitting here, by the way. So kind of I wrote a couple of wee things down for you and on the back part of the poem. Right? So, Jim, you're a poet. You're a man, a politician, a charitable man. Loves Dunfermline like a true five man. Me and Paul, we sing our songs from the BB man, with a drop of a string right through to the king. As boys we love to do our thing, a little Celtic rock and roll, and Jesus with a lot of soul. Big Jim Leishman, a lover of music and the arts, thanks for listening to something from our hearts. Can we have a poem from your heart?
Oh, I don't think with that one.
What a show.
Obviously,
What a show. You've inspired me, Jim.
Jimmy, obviously you've not been listening to me, eh?
So can we have a wee poem for your heart?
Oh, gee whiz. I'll have to think about it. I'll try and get it before the end
Come
of the
back
week.
to it. aye,
come back
come
to
back to that.
I'll have to think.
You impressed with that?
I'm impressed with that.
There you go.
Mine's rhyme.
That's right.
Love it. Mine's don't.
You want my latest poem, right?
Aye, let's see your latest poem.
And this is it. You've got to be into my sort of my sense of humour. I got a phone call for the primary school. I was at Logilly West, Logilly, the teacher. Mr. Leishman, I says, yeah. He says, look, we've got great respect for you, what you've achieved, and we're having a fundraiser. The kids are using a fundraiser, and it's about their childhood memories.
Yeah.
That they've got to do this. And you were a young, your first school was here. Could you write a poem about your childhood memories at the school? And I says, oh, I'd have to think about that. Phone me next week. And I put the phone down. I never bothered. And then I realised about 2 days ago, I said, I better write this. She's going to phone me. And right next to your playground, right, was a slaughterhouse. Right? So I would walk to the scale in the morning and you would hear or right, the cows and the sheep, and then you would go home in the afternoon and you would hear nothing. It'd be all quiet. And I couldn't get this out of my head about that memory of the school, because we didn't have a football team on the primary school, and Mrs. Stewart was she was a football thing. We all played 1 or 2 games a year. I couldn't get this out of my head. What do you think about that? The slaughter. So she phoned me. Mr. Leishman, the children are all excited about listening to your childhood memories. Did you? I says, I wrote a wee poem about it. Oh, that's fantastic. Can I hear it? I says, aye. It's called The Slaughterhouse. This is for primary 3. This is for primary 3 and primary 4. Children, kids, eh?
Oh,
Primary 3. It's The Slaughterhouse. She said, oh, right, okay. Can I hear it? I says, no bother. There was a coo. Used to moo. It doesn't know. That was it, eh? She says to me, I was just taking the mickey. She says, oh, Mr. Leishman, the children don't know what a slaughterhouse is. You'll have to be more explicit to help them out, and I'll explain it. The slaughterhouse. And I said, well, phone me the morning. So I'm by this time I've got her hooked. She phoned me, Mr. Leishman, I says, I've thought about it, and I'll be really more explicit now. The kids will know all about it. The Slaughterhouse by James Leishman MBE. There was a coo. Used to moo. It doesn't know. It's dead. She went off her head. Oh, you can't say that to the children. Oh, they'll be distraught. You can't go killing animals. You can't do that. You've got to be more sympathetic in your poems. Oh, please, come on. I phone me in the morning. So this is it. So I say to her, right, I've got it, and I've been really sympathetic. They'll understand all about it, but I've been sympathetic so the kids will not cry. Can I hear it? I say, certainly. The Slaughterhouse. I says, no, this is it. Take it or leave it. Okay. And I've been sympathetic for you. She says, fine, Mr. Leishman, fine, thank you. There was a coo. Used to moo. It doesn't moo. It's dead. Oh, that shows that. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. You're going to say, I got 30 quid for that song. That was, so I've never done a process.
No, but listen, it makes us laugh, doesn't
It's
it?
funny.
So
Stupid.
It is great, but it's Jim. It is brilliant.
It's superb.
And the stuff that can make you, the simplest of things make you laugh. But that was brilliant. And you know, boo moo. I'm now thinking that the next part of the subject that I'd like to ask Jim about is the Labour Party.
Yeah. Scottish Labour.
Scottish Labour.
Yeah.
Scottish Labour that I certainly grew up with my father and grandfather and such. And how are you these days about the Scottish Labour Party?
Can I tell you how I'm going to? Because I was never a politician, Jim.
No, that's right. You tell
I'm
us.
sitting in the house, it's a true story. Sitting in the house, and the phone rang. And I recognise the voice here. Jim, Gordon here. I says, Gordon who? Jim, it's Gordon here. I wonder if you'd like to stand as a councillor for Dunfermline area. Oh, sure, Gogsy. Right, Wraith Rovers. I'm winding him up. He's a Wraith Rovers fan. Oh, like this. And I says, oh, Gordon, I'm not interested in that. He says, no, think about it. I says, no, Gordon. I says, look, I've never been a politician. Jim, you've been a politician all your football career. I says, but no, I'm not into heavy going. Not like you guys. Think about it. I'll phone you next week. If you hadn't phoned me, Jim, I'd never, but to his credit, Gordon Brown phoned me back. And I did loads of things with him,
Yeah.
When the dockyard was shutting down, I went on the protest march along Princess Street. I was on the podium speaking about togetherness, about this is the time you've got to stick together and all this. And so I'd met him on loads of things, and at the football, he would come up supporting Wraith Rovers and whatever. And he phoned me back and he said, Jim, I says, Gordon, he says, look, come down to Queen's Ferry, come down to the house and we'll talk through it. So I went down. 2 days later, someone sat down, had a bit of toast and a cup of tea and whatever, and he says, right, Gordon, I'll do it. I'll knock the doors, I'll canvass whatever I've got to do. I've never done it before. And if I get elected, fine. But if I get elected, if I didn't like it, I'm out. Because if I didn't like something, I'll not do it right, and I'll be wasting your time, my time, and Scottish Labour's time. That's fair, Jim. You've been fair there. And funny story, honestly. One of my pals, Kelly Hertz, Ian Thompson, the chairman at that time at Kelly Hertz. Not, as I say, I was there at the start of my football career. He phones me the next morning. It was on the papers and the TV and that. Leishman councillor and all this. He phoned me. Leish, have you done this before? I says, no, you can't have, no. Have you got a canvas manager? I says, what are you talking about, man? You need a canvas manager to plan your campaign. I says, I've never done that. I'll do it. I'll be your canvas manager. I says, have you done it before? He says, no, but I've got an idea. I'll pick you up in the morning, 6 o'clock. So he arrives in his wee car. He's got to vote Leishman, right? So he says, right, I've planned the route. We'll start here. We'll go up the street. We'll zigzag up so they see you come in. And I'll start the first couple of doors, you take her. So I says, brilliant, I'll give him an idea. So the first door, this old wifey comes to the door, senior citizen. He jumps in front of me. I like peaches, I like cream. Big Jim's the leader for your team. And I'm standing behind him. No chance. And the old wifey says, oh, you're the football boy. Oh, you did a great job at this football team. We all love you here. There's 3 of us in here. We're going to vote for you. Everyone else are going to vote for you. Thanks very much, Mum. Shut the door. She's right across here. Zigzag, zigzag. Second door. An old wifey again. He jumps away again. I like peaches. He's dancing on. I like cream. Big Jim's the leader for your team. And I'm standing. I'm sure Gordon Brown doesn't do this at the doors. I said, oh, I can your mum and dad, son. What great people they were, hard-working people. If you're like them, I'm going to vote for you, and me and my husband, we're going to vote for you. Good luck in your campaign. Great. So that's 5 votes and 2 who says? I says, I've got to be the Prime Minister here. And the third door. True story, this is a true story. And just before it opened, he says, I says, I'll take her, I'll do it. I ken the song. I like back Big Jim. No, didn't. I says, Ian, I've got 5 votes, why not keep it going? No, didn't. I says, why no? The first 2 were my aunties. That was my introduction to canvassing. Setting up with 2 aunties across the road in the schema. Oh, laugh. So I got elected 6 days later. I got made the provost.
And
Unbelievable.
aye, and quite historical, eh?
For me. And I got re-elected first provost of the kingdom, to get re-elected. Can you vote provost of Dunfermline, provost of Glenrothes, Kirkcaldy district councils, so a lot of them got re-elected, but I was the first provost in the kingdom of Fife to get re-elected.
Great.
What an honour for me.
Great honour, great honour, Paul.
The Scottish Labour, we're having a hard time now. We're having a hard time. The SNP are so strong now, and good on them. It's up to us to make a challenge. You can't condemn somebody for doing well.
Oh,
You've got to look at yourself, and I think seriously that we're all looking now and saying,
how do you get the youth back on your side?
That's what they've done. That's what they've done. We've got to get them believing that. Sadly, the mines are all finished. The mines are all closed down. They served their purpose, and some great values the miners had. My father was a miner. My uncle was my uncle got arrested at Kincardine Power Station during the strikes. I'm watching the telly and I see my uncle Gump, my uncle Alec getting humped away with the police. I thought, this is a nicer man you wouldn't meet, and he's got the arm up his back, and I'm laughing. I said, what are you doing, Uncle Alec? But they had some great values, family first. And going and
absolutely,
and that's past history. We've got to create current history and history going forward. We've got to do that.
I think my great grandfather was a miner. They were miners, and my father used to always talk about how the family miners come from a family of miners and working class people and good, honest people and with great values and family values. So we've all got a bit of the mining part within us, deep within my genetics. It's going to be a hard gig to try and get the majority of the young people back on board with Labour. But I'm quite sure people like yourself and other people will help to do that and make it a great party again.
I'm as I said when I started, I'm never a great politician, and as a provost, I've got to be fair to all the parties in Fife at the full council meetings. You've got the Lib Dems, you've got the Conservatives, the SNP are very strongly now, and the Scottish Labour. But the councillors work really hard. All the councillors work really hard.
Yeah.
Some more than others. Some it's their life and soul. They're maybe retired or that's their full-time main employment, and they put a lot of hard work into, and they care. The successful ones care about the people. They care about their constituents, and they want to help them. I found as the provost, the thing I can help everybody in Fife. I've not just got my ward, Dunfermline Central. It's up at St Andrews. It's up at Cooper, Valleyfield, Toryburn, everywhere, and you try and help everybody. But I've got good colleagues that help out. I've got good colleagues that help.
What would you like to achieve, Jim, at this stage in your life? What would you like to achieve?
For the politics, I'd like better social care for everybody. And you mentioned youth there, Jim. I'd like the youth to get at least one opportunity to succeed in their lives.
Yeah.
Whether it's the ones that kind of get jobs or whatever, give them an opportunity and give them hope that there's something there for them. Give them hope and get rid of this drug culture, and if we get them working, get them with a bit self-belief in themselves, that'll reduce them, sure.
That's
It'll
key.
reduce that.
That's key, Jim. I mean, I'm not wanting to close the book on your football career yet, because coming from Dunfermline, I'm aware that there was a lot more to come from Jim Leishman. You did the aeroplane at Ibrox back in the day. You were to do it again as a Dunfermline manager, because you saved the club for relegation. I've spoken to some of the guys who were in that team back in 2005-06, and I've asked them, what did Jim do? Because you had been beaten about a dozen games in a row. You had to turn it around in the last 3 games of the season. Jim Leishman comes back in, and you gave them something. You gave them some kind of belief in that dressing room, Jim. Do you even know what it is? Because the players couldn't explain what it was, but they felt confident going out that they were going to stay up, and you gave them that confidence.
I suppose I spoke about the history of Dunfermline. A lot of the guys were new to the history. They were their first year, second year, whatever. You know, I spoke about the tradition of winning at this football club. I can remember one of the talks, and I've been reading a book, and I thought this was an amazing story. And unfortunately, Davy got sacked on the Monday. I took over on the Tuesday, and it wasn't about getting them fit. You can't get them fit in a week for 3 games or 2 weeks. And I stood and I gave them a row, I can remember giving them a row for where they were in the league, and for getting a good honest man, getting his jotters, because I like Davy. The players like Davy. Davy's it just didn't work for him, and he's first to admit that, Jim, it's no worked. You move on, and that's the type of guy he was, And I did this. I says, right, lads, facts your life. I'm going to tell you something. See, every one of you, you're born, and you go along a straight line, and you die. See, during that straight line, you go on journeys, adventures. Life's a journey, from start to finish. See the wee adventures you go off. Some of the adventures are above the line, where it's great, you want to be there, fantastic, you want to stay there. And some adventures go below the line. I say, see my journey of life, I've been below that line twice. The first time was for this club when I got sacked. When I left this club, I was distraught, never been unemployed, always been at this football club, and I loved it. They're taking away a huge chunk of my life. And I didn't know what to do. Couldn't handle it. Eventually go back to the line, then start it again, then my wife died. And I went below that line again. Instead of sitting there below that line twice, I knew I had to come back to the line to get the good adventures in life, to go up there to where I want to be. Right now, you guys are below that line, and you'll get judged. You will personally get judged about this line, where you are now. You will all get judged before that, for Dunfermline supporters. Or that team, they got relegated. You'll get judged as a failure. No, you're not failures. You're not failures. Right now you're in a position of failure, but you can turn that round. Now, the directors were talking about a first division budget in the boardroom. Right, we'll have to get, I think about 11 people were going to get sacked. And I told them that. We're not only saving your life, but the people in that office. That's who you're fighting for. Is that not a great cause? People that have helped you all year, helped you out. That's a great reason for going out and giving it your lot. Then you continue your journey. Then you go on. And that's how when you kick the bucket, that's how you get judged. Now, it's in our hands. We're in charge of your life. We're in charge, right, in this situation. We're not relegated yet. We can still avoid relegation. It's in our hands. You're in charge. What is the first thing you do in the morning? What is the first thing you did this morning? You woke up, positive. Second thing, go to your bed, positive. Had a shower, great, that's what I feel great. Next thing, you went to your job, brilliant. Everything you did is positive. Somebody comes in and tries to turn you into a negative, right? The opposition, we're going to beat you. You're in charge. If you know what to get beat, give it your best shot, and you've got a chance. And that's what I said to her. The next day, I took them down to Aberdeen Golf Club, I walk along the coastal path, come back, bought them a pint of lager and a beer, and their lunch. Thursday, Friday, prepared for the performance. Prepared them mentally and physically, got them excited. And for 4,000 folk to 8,500. Because I had wound the papers up and whatever and got them going. I says, hey, come on, we need you. We need you to come back. We've still got a chance. Let's believe. And if you're behind them, right, if they respond, together we can achieve this goal. 5-0. Amazing. Just again going to the red. Eh? No, you could hear him. You could hear a pin drop when I was talking. That was it. And that was it. And then next week, puff, amazing. Because I remember it. We were playing Dundee 5-0. Unbelievable. And the atmosphere just, the fans were shouting at them, well done, great. And they hadn't had that for weeks and weeks and weeks. In fact, all season, they hadn't had that response. And I says, look, that's what it's like. That's what it's like. And they went up to Tannadice. We hadn't won a away game for, I can't remember when. We hadn't won 2 games in the drop all year. And then we got into their heads again, and that was it. And the fans, the game was delayed for about 5 minutes to let the Dunfermline fans in. And that lifts you. That lifts them. Oh yeah, boy, they're all coming to see us. Eh? Come on. And we won 1-0. Derek Stuller, the goalie, had a great game. And Big Andy Todd, all the boys, Gary Mason, worked their socks off. And they got the goal at 89th minute. Well, oh yeah, boy. That's when I did the aeroplane there. But I was thinking, oh, on Monday, I've got 11 people on Monday going to come and give me a big hug.
Yeah.
The people, because they knew their jobs were at stake. They're going to give me, and they're going to I couldn't wait. And I'm in the dressing room. Craig Robertson was my assistant, Hamish French, 2 great boys, and the assistant referee, the fourth official, come up, and Craig says, Gaffer, Stuart Dougal. Stuart Dougal's what I see in his office. What for? I said, I don't know. So he goes in and he shakes my hand because he had been Davy Hayes' last game against Livingston about 2-0, so that was 3 games ago. He says, Jim, what a transformation, what a different team. I says, just a wee bit long. Well done, I shoot my hand. He says, Jim, I've got to report you to the SFA. I says, what? You're joking me. I says, what for? He says, over-exuberant celebration. I says, Stuart, you're joking me. I says, the aeroplane. He says, aye. Some of the Dundee United fans were annoyed because they were still in the relegation thing, eh? But you did that. I says, Stuart, I've just saved people's jobs and 1.2 million for staying up.
Aye.
The club I've saved the club if you're going defunct again. What you want me to do? He says, Jim, have you anything to say? Because it was the match commander that reported it. I tell the match commander to go and take off at his cell. That's what I said to him. I couldn't care if I got arrested or not. I could not care. No chance. And because it was one of the best days of my life.
It's a passion-filled game.
Isn't it?
You're just showing passion, Jim.
Aye.
Again, the third game we got beat. We needed to get beat 7-0. And I blame myself a wee bit because I switched off. A wee bit. Because when I took over, there were 44 managers. Me, Gordon Chisholm, Richard Goff, and who's that? Jim Duffy, Dundee. That was the 4 of us. One of these guys going down. One of these guys are going down. That was the headline. Going down, one of them. And won the 5-0 game. We won 1-0 the second game. Then the 40 the last week was Jim Duffy, Gordon Chisholm, and Richard Goff. One of these guys. And my 40 was taken away. I thought, I've done it, eh? And the players, we've done it. And instead of keeping the adrenaline high, keeping them up there, keeping hey, come on, eh? It was just a laugh and a joke. We were getting beat 4-0 with 20 minutes to go. Crap myself.
But you done it. You
Did
done
it?
it, Jim.
Amazing. One of the
Done
best achievements in my football career.
Oh yeah.
These 3 games. Not getting beat, but turning that round so quickly. Because you had no option. You had you weren't going to get sympathy with getting beat. You had to do it. This is your journey, lads. This is adventure. This is where we are. We have to do it. We have to do it. No second thoughts. Didn't have a second thought. When you walk out there, that's what we have got to do. I've got to do my job, and you've got to do your job, and your job. And see, when you all do your job together, you'll do it.
What a turnaround.
Pulled them together. Pulled them together.
Great achievement.
It was
It was
fantastic.
incredible.
Great.
I got them to the cup final the next year, kept them up and got them to the cup final. And no Hunt was my main striker with Mark Bitchell. No Hunt, we took them up to the Fairmount to prepare for it. Jimmy Johnson Cup final, remember that?
Yeah.
Wee Jinky died on the Tuesday, and it was all about Jimmy Johnson, and you couldn't get a ticket. The Celtic supporters were buying them in the Livingston then because they wanted to pay tribute to Wee Jinky, and they wanted to wear number 7 on their shorts.
That's right.
And every phone call I was getting was, Jim, can we do this, Jim? And it was taking away. I'm trying to concentrate on my team, who Darren Young scored the winning goal in the semi-final against Livingston to get to the League Cup final. He broke his toe. No Hunt up at St Andrews, jumped on the bed, done his back in. So that's 2 of my best players. And I went out and Scott Thompson was he. I can't mind who all played with. Some of the better, Scott Wilson, all the boys were all injured there. And I put a team out and I'm saying to myself, oh, okay. Come on.
But it must have been great to go to Hampden with, what was it, 15,000 Pars fans behind you, Jim?
17.
Was it 17,000? Amazing.
You want to know what made me proud? The first of them Dunfermline supporters took a team to Hampden.
Exactly.
And I walked out there saying, I supported this team. I was brought up with this team, and I'm leading them to a cup final.
Some feeling, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Proud day.
My family, you look up and you see your family sitting in the director's box, and you say to yourself, wish my father was here. Wish my dad was here. I wish my mother was here. They had passed away. I wish they were all here to see me. And
It was an emotional day all round. That game. It was a very emotional game for me personally. It was an emotional game for many other people. So that's amazing hearing your story there about that. And I'm actually, I get drifted away myself there thinking about you mentioning Jinky there when he passed away, and I had that thought there that whole week in my head, and then going to the cup final. It was brilliant. Sorry, for a Celtic point of view, it was brilliant. But listening to you there and getting the feelings coming across for yourself is great as well.
I tell you, Dunfermline were struggling financially at the time, right?
Yeah.
This was before the big administration thing. So, you know, I took over 3 games. You're my directors. I should have said to you boys, right, if I keep you up these 3 games, your budget's you'll get 1.2 million inject it into your budget. I'm wanting 50 grand. What did you say?
I'd have gave you it.
Right? I never asked for a penny. Never asked for a penny. The next year, because they were struggling, my club was struggling.
Yeah.
They were dying to death financially. Next year, gets them to the League Cup final. Never asked for a penny. Never wanted a bonus. I never received a bonus. And that was my contribution. And then after that, my wife was also I stopped. We got beat 4-0 for Hibs on the Tuesday night, and I says, because my wife was ill. My wife's uncle was ill. He was dying. So, and her dad was no well. So I was going between them all, trying to do the football, and I wasn't doing the football any justice. So I says, no, I can't do all this. So I just says, look, sorry, I'm going to call time.
Yeah.
And no with shame. It wasn't as if I was getting the sack or that, and I think they would have stuck by me at the time, but I just wasn't. And if I'm not putting some 100% into it, I'm no good. Because the enthusiasm's not there, and there's a falseness about you. And when it's the players know when you're no really wanting to do it, and it was just.
I understand that. I understand that.
You know, you and then. And to Dunfermline's credit, Gav Masterton's name at the time, they kept me on a job. I did that, but it was quite a hard time.
Oh, it must have been.
At the time.
See the thing, Jim, through all the successes and achievements that we've been talking about today, and there's been many. I mean, you were still involved in Save Our Pars when that happened as well.
Yeah.
When you look at the incredible work you've done since the passing of your late wife Mary, £1.1 million raised via the Mary Leishman Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
That's bigger than anything.
By far. It's just when a parent comes up and says, Jim, thanks for the wheelchair, or Jim, not just me, but a great committee, Billy Braithwaite, Alec Parker, Ian Muller, Janice Smart, and who were all pals, and Ellie Segarius. We all put this together. I was the lead figure, I would say, and I would honestly say I probably raised the most amount of money, but they've been such a help. They've been such to keep it going. They've been great. But when you see some kids, we put a kid through university, a guy who stayed in Glenrothes, and he had fears, so still in university, he got a place there, and we converted his wee flat, student accommodation, to look like his house,
Is that right?
his bedroom. Mm-hmm. So once he got there, so he got that, and he went to the next stage, his degree and whatever, and he just finished at St Andrews University. We started him and finished him.
Right.
Kids that couldn't walk, we bought them special wee beds to lie on that brought them up, and amazing things.
Brilliant.
And put folk through. It wasn't just, our motto is to ease potential. Sorry, encourage potential and ease the stress. So if you've got potential, there's a boy at Aberdeen University and he do music, right? I got a phone call from Dunfermline High School, the head teacher, Jim, I've got a boy. He's got a choice, he's going to take, and we had this is one of these, Dunfermline High's got talent, and there's a guy who he stays with his gran and granddad. He's starting to pull about in the wrong crowd, but he's got such a talent. Mm-hmm. Can you help him out? I says, what you want? He says, he's starting to go for interviews. Can you buy him a suit and a dinner suit for when he's singing? And he's starting to make money singing. Did that cost us what, £600 or something? £300 each. He's now doing up at Aberdeen University. And you want to know, if I phone him up and want you to come down, Callum, will you do a wee show for me to raise money? He's doing.
You'll not forget it, Jim.
You'll not
forget it.
Loads of things, loads and loads. Not just in Fife. We've been to Cumbernauld, we've been to Dundee, Edinburgh, all over.
It's remarkable.
It's such a humble.
Fulfilling, Jim. It's
It's
fulfilling.
humble. You're humbled when you
Aye.
see that some people. We Celtic supporter, Jimmy.
Aye.
He got cancer. He played for Celtic Youth, I think, or I don't know if it was Utica, and he come for the Glasgow way, and he was recovering for this cancer. We converted his bathroom into a disabled bathroom so that he could walk into the bath, fill it, and do that, because he couldn't get up and down the stairs and all that. So we went through to do that because a lot of Glasgow people had helped raise us some money. Mm-hmm. So we were saying, you've helped do that, we'll put it back into your community. Mm-hmm. Some great people. We went to La Manga, It was never manga. It was an area, and we had a golf tournament, and we raised in the golf tournament £27,000. That was bank transfer through here, which was great, and it was all the expats with a golf tournament, and everybody came. Craig Brown, Archie Knox, John Robertson, Gordon Jury, Phil Kennedy, Alan Kennedy, Jimmy Case, Bobby Davro. They were all coming to help us out. They come in, and what did they charge me?
Nothing.
Great, man. Great. And it was, we made it all fun, eh? We made it fun. The fundraising was fun.
Well, Jim, we've been chatting for about 2 hours today.
You're joking.
Right? And it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Have you got a message for anybody tuning in who's maybe had a few months of hard times? Obviously, you know, we've all had a wee bit of that, you know. Any message for the Provost of Fife?
Yeah, I think communication is the greatest thing in the world, eh? You know, you've got to talk to people. You know, there's somebody out there who'll be able to help you. Don't bottle it up. Don't think silly things. You've got to phone your friends, and I'm talking probably more to the guys now. Eh, they're the ones that are tough. We're tough. I'll get through this and do this and that. But nobody's tough enough, right? If you've got a problem, it's solvable. There's always somebody been in that situation. So go and talk to people. Phone them up. Have a chat. Have a cup of tea, right? Join a group and communicate with each other. If everybody, no matter how young, how old, whatever, or who you are, what your background. I tell you, I was feeling rotten, eh? But I spoke to people. And they helped you through it. They helped me through it. Eh? And then there's always something. There will be something out there for you, right? You might not be the provost. You might not be the top football player, but there's something there for you to achieve. Because everybody has what's the word? A talent, eh? Every single person has a talent. Whether you can't read or write, but you can do artwork, you can express in art. You're not very good, but you can go and sing a song. You can join and enjoy singing. Loads of things. Write things down and read them to yourself. What you're writing, and you say, Chris, what a talent that is. What people, I've had a talent with the football, and I've been so lucky becoming the Provost of Fife. But that's because I've been talking to people, and people's encouraged me to take, always have courage, eh? That's the message. You go and talk to your kids, you go and talk to people. Come on, you've got to have a good attitude. Come on, you've got to be determined. Come on, you'll not achieve, you've got to. The word that is no used enough is courage. Have the courage to show a good attitude. Have the courage to be determined. Right? You might fail, but then it's a clock. You start at 12 o'clock, 12:15. Hey, it's not going right here. Have the courage to go right round that clock. And at the end of it, if you've not enjoyed it, what do? You didn't do it again. But you've completed your circles. Eh? Have the courage to do that. And you'll end up, you might not be the best in the world, but you'll be better. You'll be better. And that is the secret. Courage.
Well, Jim, it's been inspiring speaking to you today. So thank you very much for joining us. And we'll speak to you again.
Anything.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.